Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Garden Show. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's just lovely and sunny, clear blue skies here in the Okanagan. No clouds in sight from my vantage point. It's just looking beautiful, and this is going to be a busy gardening weekend. There's lots to do, and happy Easter, everyone. This is going to be just a fabulous weekend. We're going to be able to get out in the garden. We're going to get some of the cold-loving plants out, get them into the ground, and just get rolling here. It's time to get into the garden and get some things growing. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about how to deal with plants when you're first putting them out, what plants to put out, which ones to keep in for a while, and just a little bit about temperature and fertilizer and nutrients and compost and all those great things that we deal with in the garden. So we're just going to go straight to the tip and the plant of the week. Alrighty, now my tip of the week is that it's really important to harden off your plants when you first put them outside. Plants that you grow indoors are not used to air movement and cool fluctuating temperatures and bright light and even frost, which some plants really like to grow with a little bit of frost, but they still have to get used to it. So it's called hardening off. You have to harden off your plants when you first put them outside, and that just basically means gradually get them used to being outside. And that's one of the best ways to get your plants out and get them used to the outdoor environment and get them established and get them growing. All right, now my plant of the week this week is the Boxwood family. And Boxwoods are great because they do make a small or medium-sized evergreen hedge. They're deer-resistant. They're quite drought-tolerant. They're a tough plant. Often a little bit slow-growing, but that's the way that goes. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about boxwoods today just because there's such a wide variety of them. Some get really big, some stay really small, some are medium-sized. Really important, if you have a boxwood that does die out in a hedge, you have to match it. You have to get the right one because they all look the same from a distance, but when you put them side by side, they definitely look different, that's for sure. So that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube. All right, so yeah, it's one of these things, at this time of year we're all getting anxious to get out there and get some things in the ground, and it's fine to do that. I mean, plants like trees, shrubs, the perennials, that nurseries will sell perennials, and they can get them out very, very early. They're good to go. You can get those into the ground right away. They're fine with the cold temperatures. They're used to spring weather, and they're used to freezing at night. And so, it's one of those things that you just want to do. Vegetables, on the other hand, you want to sort of be selective and select the plants that love to grow in cold temperatures, and then also then just make sure that the plants that love the heat are held off. You hold off on those until you get to the end of May or into early June. Now, I believe we have Don Burnett on the line. So
that is me, Ken.
There we go. Hey, Don, how you doing?
We're doing very well. We're enjoying our little break here. We're going to go and see a Canuck game on Sunday night.
Oh, there you go.
I do have a plant and a tip, though.
I think it's Sunday day, Don.
Well, Sunday in the afternoon, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's actually good for old people like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. We don't have to worry about getting in late. Watching I come home for dinner. Ken, I've got a tip and a plant of the week.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, my tip is to tidy up your seed inventory. I'm speaking from a personal standpoint here. I just had seeds coming out my ears in my little greenhouse shed there, and they've sat there for, some of them for 4 or 5 years, some of these packages of seeds. And I've been doing germination tests, and I'm quite surprised at how poor the condition of the seed is in many cases. And one of the thing is, if you're planting indoors, it's fine. But gee whiz, if you're putting seeds outside, like carrot seeds and things like that, in the garden, and nothing comes up, it's very disappointing and time consuming. It's a waste of time. So get those little few packs of nice clean potting soil. Put some seed in there inside the house, indoors, even best under, over a heating pad of some sort, and see what's going to grow and what isn't, and then just start chucking or saving whatever you is appropriate. My plant of the week this week is the Japanese flowering cherry, Prunus circulata, and I'll tell you, Ken, it is one of those things down at the coast that we miss now in the Okanagan. We miss those flowering cherries because back in the day, back in the early 60s, there was a problem with a disease called little cherry disease. Mm-hmm. And they were banned from the Okanagan and the Kootenays because of this virus that gets into the cherries and causes extreme problems with our domestic cherry crops. So we can't grow the flowering cherry in the Okanagan. We do have Prunus spessartii, the purple leaf plum. We've got some early blooming, flowering trees. Some of the fruit trees are early blooming, the apricots and things like that. But boy, oh boy, when you come down to the coast and you see these flowering cherries all over the place, it just blows your mind. It's very double. These are native to Eastern Asia. That's why they're called Japanese flowering cherries. Mm-hmm. So that's beautiful. My typical plant.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, and this is, I guess, are you finding it's peak season down there for the flowering cherries?
Yes. There's actually lots of festivities going around the Cherry Blossom Festival time here. We haven't really taken part in that. I spent a lot of time, night before last, I was with Craig McCaw and Helen. Donna and I spent a night with Craig McCaw and Helen, his wife Helen. Nice. Craig McCaw, if anybody doesn't realize, I'm always in awe of being with Craig McCaw because he belonged to the Poppy family, the band that was a very famous Canadian band that toured the world. Amazing career he had in music. And now he's into doing presentations, computerized presentations of various things at the technical college in Vancouver here. It's always a pleasure. And he is an expert telescope guy. And I've got that telescope we talked about earlier in the year. And he has taken it apart, cleaned the mirror, and got it all looking good. So we're going to have some fun when we come home. In fact, Ken, you and Wendy and Donna and I are going to have a telescope night.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
That's in the plan.
Yeah, a nice clear night would be just awesome, eh?
Yes, we're close to a break here, eh?
Yeah, we're getting really close here. So we will take a short break and we'll regroup and we'll definitely invite your calls. Anybody who has gardening questions today can just call in. And we have 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling long distance. Or if you're just local here, 250-862-2525 from the Okanagan Valley. And, you can just give us a call, and we'll do our best to answer your gardening questions. And so, we'll just take a short break here, and we'll come back with more of The Garden Show. Alrighty, we are back with you, and again, as I was saying, it's going to be a fabulous Easter weekend. We were wishing everyone a happy Easter, and it's going to be fun. The kids are going to love it. It's going to be all exciting. So, Don, are you still on the line there?
I am still with you, Ken.
Fabulous.
And, enjoying our stay down here. Very interesting at this time of year to see just how far ahead in many respects the coast is to the Okanagan. Mm-hmm. And also it's a little surprising on some of the things that are about on par. The spring bulbs are pretty close to being on par with ours. The hyacinths are in full bloom in the Okanagan, and they're in full bloom here. The daffodils and narcissus family is pretty well out now, and they are in the Okanagan as well. So there's a lot of things like that the same. However, the trees are leafing out. I'm looking right outside the window of my son's place here in Vancouver, and there's a mountain ash pretty much leafed out. Which is not something we would have in the Okanagan. This is so some of the things are very much ahead. Some of the things aren't so much. Saw some really nice plants yesterday. We went out for dinner at a golf course yesterday, or for breakfast actually.
Right.
And that tall, what they call upright spurge, that Euphorbia rigida, perhaps, or Wolfenii. Don't know. There's a number of them, I think, that are that upright spurge. Very pretty thing. I sent you pictures of some of the things that we have seen here, and lots of cool hellebores out, which some of them I haven't seen before, which is kind of cool. Early azaleas I've seen, and we've seen rhododendrons just really pushing some of the early rhododendrons, and of course camellias, which is something we don't see in the Okanagan at all.
Right.
And there's some camellias in full bloom right now.
Yeah, they're just such a gorgeous plant, and wow, yeah, we miss out on that one, but it's just not winter hardy. Not hardy enough for this climate. I think they only survive down to about maybe minus 14 or somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and I heard, though, there was one camellia that could be hardy in the Okanagan, and I'm not sure what that is, but I did hear at one point there might be one. But they say hardy in the Okanagan. Not we have this 30 below zero stuff that we've had in the last couple of years, and that sort of separates the men from the boys, kind of thing.
Yeah, 30 degrees. Yeah, exactly. Minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, minus
so
Celsius.
It's cold.
Yeah. Fritillaria, the Imperialis, saw a nice bed of them. I sent you a picture of it, Ken. Just a really nice bed of those Fritillaria, the Crown Imperial lilies.
Very nice.
There's the thing we talk about all the time, isn't it? They call it the Imperial lily, Crown Imperial, Emperor's Crown lily, or whatever. It's not a lily. It's not a lily. And that's where the common names get everybody confused.
Yeah, all right, Don. Well, we do have a caller on the line, so I guess we'll just go straight to the phone lines. And we have Ariel on the line. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning, gentlemen, two of my favorite people. I wanted to tell you one thing, that my hellebore did grow its growing leaves, and it had one bloom on it. So you were right. It didn't die.
Yep. It's not done yet. We probably have till the end of April. We've got a month yet. So let's hope some more pop up from down below.
My cowslip primulas, honestly, they just keep producing every single year. They just come up so nicely.
That's a bright yellow one, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They just make this little triangle, behind the hellebore. It's beautiful. The other thing is, I wanted to tell you, I've lost two of my heathers.
Oh, yeah.
Bang, they're dead as a doornail, and they were 7 years old.
Yeah, gee. Yeah, that's tough.
And I think it was because of what happened last year, and then compiling what happened this year.
Yep.
But there is one other thing. The other garden that I go to and look after, I wondered what the heck was going on with the hellebore, and I thought it should be up. So I went over and I, cleaned it up a little bit, and all of the flower buds have been nipped off, and there's not a single leaf showing. And I'm wondering, I noticed there were rat droppings around in the little shed.
Right.
Is it rats?
It shouldn't be just because a lot of the hellebores are quite animal resistant. There are not many animals that can consume them. I think there's sort of a little bit of a toxin in their sap, so I don't think it would be, but that's something you just have to observe, keep an eye on and
mice
see.
Wouldn't eat them? Mice wouldn't go after them either?
No, they shouldn't, but yeah, that's a very good question. That might be maybe if any other callers out there actually have some evidence that points at the rodents eating the hellebores.
Yes, they were digging. I could see them
digging around them.
I can see it. They've been dug around, and nobody gets in there because we have gates are locked.
Right. Well, yeah, you never know. They get hungry and they'll eat just about anything.
Well, I thought you guys know everything, and so
there you go.
Well. Anyway, you two have a fabulous weekend. I'm going out and doing my gardening.
Fabulous. Thanks, Ariel.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go. Dawn, how have you been doing? How's your rodent population?
My rodent population?
Yeah, is it you've been keeping things on check?
I haven't set any traps this spring, and we haven't seen any evidence yet. We trapped quite a few last year, and I believe, like, there are some positives and some negatives to that cold snap we had in January, and I believe the rats got caught with their pants down, I think.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to drop the population at least a notch or two. I'm sure a lot of areas, do suffer from the rodent issues, and not much you can do, I guess, other than trapping and setting up some barriers.
Yeah, you have to recognize if you have them or not. If you do have them, then it's wise to address them. I know some people don't like trapping rats or any kind of animal, but they are a nuisance, and they're not a clean animal, and it's not a good thing to have them around. We never did see rats, in the Okanagan, Ken, back in the 80s. Did you have people coming in saying, I got rats?
No, I think I started seeing them around, 2008 or so.
Yeah.
Just
That's
the very...
when they really,
Yeah, and it was on the west side, I think, is where they started, and then they gradually made their way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything starts on the west side, of course, in the Okanagan. No, I'm just kidding. We can't beat on the west side.
No.
Yeah. Well, the sunshine is happening in Vancouver here, Ken. We
good.
brought it with us.
Nice.
We've been taking credit for the sunshine here.
Well, it certainly can't be clearer here. I literally cannot see a single cloud anywhere. So it's just beautiful blue skies, bright sunny day. Cold last night. Inside of our greenhouse, it was -2 or -3 last night. So outside would have been maybe -5, something like that.
Oh,
so cold.
I wonder how my jacaranda's doing.
Yeah, good question. Might be shivering a little bit. Yeah.
I know. Anyway, it's that time of the year, Ken, when we take chances a little bit here and there.
Yep.
However, it is gardening, and boy, right around the corner, we've got the thick of things coming up. The heat's going to come on, and the first person that comes up to me in the Okanagan, when they come up to me, says, "Oh, it's too darn hot." I go, "Excuse me, bye-bye." We've been waiting for this.
Can finally plant the peppers out and finally plant tomatoes out.
That's right. So put on your shorts and your T-shirt and get outside.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking about sort of off the top of the show there. It was just about watching which types of plants you have and which ones like the cold and which ones like the heat, and keep them separate and hold off on putting those warm-loving plants outside. I often talk about basil as one of the ones. I'll just keep growing it inside, like just grow it as a house plant, literally, until you get to the end of May, and then just watch the nighttime temperatures because, boy, it does not like the cold.
Yeah, basil really needs heat. Yeah, there's no doubt. Even more so than tomatoes and cucumbers. Basil really shivers.
Yeah.
Where do you know where it's native to, that family?
I don't off the top of my head.
No.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is part of the mint family, so.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Dan's going to phone in today, we can ask Dan that. That'd be a question to ask Dan Bruce. Where is basil native to?
Yeah, there you go. We have a quick caller calling in right now, and we'll see if we can squeeze her in. It's Pam on the line. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I was influenced to call about this topic when you mentioned, Ken, about boxwoods this morning.
Yeah.
I have several boxwoods that have been in place for at least 10 years, maybe longer. They are doing well. They are in a location that is going to be transformed in the yard. They need to be moved. So I don't know what the success is having to transplant them. Can you give me some tips on whether I can transplant them someplace, and when would I do that, and any details?
Yeah, well, right now is an excellent time. Sooner the better. They actually do transplant quite nicely. They're a plant that's durable, and I've transplanted them right in the middle of summer. and with quite a bit of neglect involved, and they still survived, and they were quite large. They were almost 3 feet in diameter, and they were basically bare-rooted, so that means we took all the soil off the roots, and then they were going to be discarded, so we just sat them on pavement for about 2 weeks, and then someone kept saying, "Oh, I want to get those plants, I want to get," so we said, "Well, give them a spray, then we got to keep them alive." So we would just spray them with water once a day, but they just came through with flying colors. There was no problem. They were sitting on hot pavement in the middle of July.
Oh, my. I had no idea they were so resilient.
So resilient, yeah. And so they do suffer. They have their issues. But right now the issue we're seeing is actually a leaf miner that is an insect that's attacking them, and that is, we can see it right now, and some people are confusing it with cold damage because you see it after winter, but it's actually a leaf miner, and the leaf miners are still in the leaf right now. They're just getting excited and ready to fly and go lay eggs on other boxwoods. So sometimes there's not too much you can do about that, but just being aware that when you have problems with any plant is really get to the bottom of it, figure out what is the problem for sure, and then you know what moves to make.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Pam, thanks for calling in.
Okay, happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Bye-bye. Okay, Dawn, looks like we're going to take a short break here. And not sure, but we just might have Dan calling in. And we will take this short break, and we'll be back after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Alrighty, welcome back to The Garden Show. Ken Salvail, Don Burnett here today, and we are just going straight to the phone lines. We have Nikki on the line. Good morning, Nikki.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Vicky.
Vicky, there you go.
Yes.
Very close.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Vicky.
I have been given a little greenhouse, and where we were thinking of putting it, I have 3 boxwoods, and they've been there for probably 16 years.
Wow. Okay.
But I keep them trimmed, so they're not that big. They're a few feet, maybe 2.5 feet tall. I trim them every fall, so they don't get too big.
Right.
Is it going to be an issue if I move them? Is that, like, I don't want to kill them.
No.
I'll put the greenhouse somewhere else.
Yeah, they move quite easily, actually. The key is to note that the roots on just about any of these shrubs and plants, they spread outwards kind of wide and sort of shallow, about 12 inches deep, but they would be horizontally spreading out as wide as about 4 feet or so around the plant.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean you have to get all the root. It just means that the wider the root ball that you can take, the better it is for the plant and the easier they transplant.
Okay.
So I usually go to the sides of the plant and I might measure out, say, maybe about 10 inches, maybe 12 inches, and then start digging straight down, a straight down angle, and then start working my way around the plant. And are the 2 boxwoods side by side, or?
There's 3 of them, and they're very close together.
Yeah, so then when you go between them... Yeah.
They're not a hedge.
Okay. But when you do go between them, you'll, again, just go straight down. That's the key, about 12 inches or so, straight down. And then just work your way around, sort of maybe putting a little pressure to pry it upwards, and just go around and around and around and around and keep getting underneath it until eventually it pops out. And then you can move it to a new spot right now. This is the best time to do it.
Oh, this is a good time. Oh, okay, because I have somebody coming this weekend who does gardens, and so she's going to help me. But I just thought I should have some information first.
Yeah. No, they do quite well, and it's just a matter of the more root you get, the easier they are to transplant.
And how do I prepare the new spot? I just dig a big hole? Do I put any kind of fertilizers stuff in there?
Not really. You don't really have to do too much. Just prepare your holes ahead of time where they're going to be moved to, so before you dig them out. The depth, again, we're targeting at about 10 to 12 inches deep, somewhere in that range. So start with about 12 inches.
Okay.
Take the surface soil that you dig out of the new hole and set it aside. And that new that surface soil is probably your best quality soil. So I usually put that in the bottom of the hole and then set the plant on that, and then bury it around with remaining soil, and keep them shallow, not too deep. That's really the key. I don't know, Don, if you have anything to add to that, or.
Well, boxwood fortunately have quite a tight, fibrous sort of root system. They don't stretch out long. They do stretch out, but it is a fibrous root system, so that it's like cedars. It's easy to move them, as you say, Ken. I don't have too much else to suggest doing, but do it soon. Get them well watered in. So that not only gives them a drink, but it also enables the soil to kind of work its way around some of those roots that are sticking out and whatnot. So, like you say, they're pretty easy to move.
Oh, okay. I don't feel so scared about it. Okay, thank you so much.
Use a good sharp shovel. Make sure your shovel is good and sharp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, seriously, because that cuts the roots so nicely, rather than
ripping,
tears them.
Yeah.
Okay.
All righty. Well,
good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vicki. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, Dawn, I know we have Dan on the line. Dan, if you could just hold, we just have one more caller here, and then we'll get to you. And so we have Dave on the line. Good morning, Dave.
Yeah, good morning. This is about canna lilies. We took your advice last fall on how to overwinter them in the basement in some compost. And so we just pulled them out yesterday, and so far they're looking good. So I'm thinking this next stage is what they call kind of waking them up till when we actually going to pot them in May outside in bigger pots. So this waking up period, is it kind of just bring them up to the warmer area of the house and leave them in that same compost, or add anything else? And also, is it just give very little water at this time, if any? Is
Don?
It the warmth that's most important?
Yeah. Go ahead, Don.
Well, I think you could, if you've got them separated. If they're not in a huge clump, you could plant the individual rhizomes into maybe 1 gallon pots or something like that. Get them started indoors. So you've got a head start going when you do put them into the containers outside. Eventually, you've got a bit of a head start rather than waiting for them to do something just sitting in that compost, overwintering compost. I think getting them started in a 1 gallon pot with some nice clean potting soil would be beneficial if you've got a spot for them in the house. In the daytime, when it warms right up, we're getting 15, 18 degrees sometimes in the daytime. Hey, put them outside. And then at night when it's cool, just bring them inside and then bring them back outside when it's warm in the daytime. But get them started, and then you've got a head start on them. Because sometimes cannas take a little while to get really established. So,
okay, yeah, just that we actually overwinter them, and then we bring them back to BC for our daughter's restaurant. And so if we put them all in single 1 gallon pots, I'd need a semi-trailer. But anyway, we'll try to manage. Maybe, I don't know, leave them in trays.
Yeah, that complicates things a little bit. But on the other hand, yeah, just bring them out, keep them in the compost that you have, so that you've got them all compacted into one little area where you can transport them. And they'll be fine that way. The other way I was speaking of is you just get a jump on things, but they're going to survive doing what you're planning on doing. It's be fine.
Okay, and then the watering bit. Just give them lots of water now already, or gradually increase, or what?
Them. You don't need to soak them. You don't want to. They do hold their moisture in that rhizome, but you could moisten them a little bit just to keep them from drying out.
Yeah, so just moderate amount of
water. When there's some green shoots showing, maybe that's when they need more watering.
Not till I guess they get about 10 inches higher. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Well, we're happy with the with them so far, so we'll see how the rest of the summer goes.
Sounds great. Thanks for calling in, Dave.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right, bye-bye. All righty, and we have Dan on the line. Good morning, Dan.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you doing?
Well, I'm all right. I was visiting friends in Vernon the other night, and Neil told me about his, reminded me about his relative, gentleman by the name of Al Carter, who was born in Calgary, I think, in 1910, and had a good long life as he made it to almost 105.
Wow.
But he was interested in plants, and specifically trees, and more specifically big ones. And he had this special love affair with the Douglas fir.
Ooh.
Anyway, he spent his life, working life, over 40 years, he and his wife, in the horticultural, botanical world, and his particular interest was plants and their environment in the colder regions of the north. So the Yukon, northern Canada, eastern Canada, and he also did a lot of work in England and in Finland.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So he was in more recent times associated with the Ancient Forest Alliance here in BC, trying to protect old growth forests, and he was instrumental in documenting what is the Red Creek tree, which is a Douglas fir on the island. A lot of claims are made about the biggest tree in Canada, the biggest tree in BC, the tallest one, the thickest one, and so on and so on. I mean, you can get quite bogged down in the details of it, but I mean, some of these trees are 200 feet tall, and anything that size is deserves some respect.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I had heard the name Al Carter a long time ago, and didn't realize that he was actually a kinsman of my friend Neil Williams up in Vernon.
Oh.
So he'd produced at least 4 books, and I'm trying to lay my hand on one of them in particular, but it's an elusive thing. But I will get one.
Yeah, there you go.
But his favorite tree was certainly the Douglas fir, and that reminded me, of course, about the flagpole in the Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew, which was given to the gardens by the province of British Columbia in 1959, and it was to celebrate BC's centenary and Kew's second centenary.
Very cool.
So it was over 200 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And,
is this Dan? Is it still there?
Well, no.
Yeah, because I don't recall. I've been there a couple of times recently, and I don't recall seeing that.
Well, this was the pole was raised in 1959, but it was taken down in 2007.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there was inevitable deterioration, and also woodpeckers got after it.
There you go.
And it became kind of sketchy. So rather than
boys,
having a terrible accident, they decided to take it down.
Yeah, for sure. Dan and Ken, I'm going to have to leave here. But however, I want one question for Dan, because we were talking about this earlier, and of course I looked it up, so I know exactly where it was, where it came from. We're talking about basil, Dan. Where did it originate? Where is it native to? Basil or basil?
Well, I'm definitely referring to it as basil.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a name, and I do not know where the plant originated.
Well, Google says it's India and Southeast Asia.
Sorry?
India and Southeast Asia, according to Mr. Google.
Oh, well, that could be correct. If you asked me to guess, I would have said somewhere around the Mediterranean.
Okay. Well, that makes sense too. But it says India, Southeast Asia. So, and then of course it's all over the world now. But it was native there. That's where the original basil came from. So, why do you call it basil?
Well, as I said, it's a man's name, and not that uncommon in England, and nobody that I've ever heard of. I mean, I know several people who have it as a name, and they say, "What's your name?" "My name's Basil."
So that's what it is. There you go.
And of course, there was a very popular TV show in England that involved a hand puppet, a fox as a hand puppet, and it was Basil Brush.
Oh.
Well, I know Faulty Towers had a famous basil too.
Well, there you go. So I don't know where this basil thing came into it, but I'm still
well, there you go.
Still going with basil.
I'm going to have to run here. We got an appointment set up here, and I'm going to have to run. But great talking to you, and I'll see you when we get back into town, Ken.
Yeah, you betcha. And we do have to take a commercial break. So thanks for calling in, Dan. I hope everything's going well, and we'll hear you again next week.
All right.
All righty. Take care.
Bye for now.
Yep. All right, everybody. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after these messages. All righty, we are back with you, and it seems like we're having some minor phone issues. It's mostly associated with cell phones, it seems like. They just keep cutting in and out, and some messages are getting through and some are not. So we're not sure what that is. It must be the cell phone companies having issues. But if that is the case, maybe just keep trying. If you're trying to get through on your cell, it could be intermittent. And so that's what we're finding here is that is the case. But regular landlines, I don't know, just give it a try. 862-2525 to get through to us here in the Valley. And if you're calling long distance, 1-888-780-4273. All right, so we've been talking about hardening off plants and getting them used to being outside. It's one of the things that we have to be a little cautious with because plants will actually adapt to cold temperatures with two things in mind. If it's a plant like basil we were just talking about, that plant definitely cannot handle any kind of cold. Like the minimum temperature for that plant is, and this is enough to chill its bones, is plus 10 degrees Celsius. That's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the bare minimum for that plant. It just doesn't like the cold. It would rather have nighttime temperatures that are like at 15 degrees Celsius, so much, much warmer. So just one of those things to keep in mind. But other plants, say like lettuce or spinach or peas, these types of plants are cold lovers, and they do very, very well. They actually don't mind to be cold. They don't even mind to freeze at night and can be quite happy in those conditions. So there are lists available, and I'm sure on some of the other some on our website on growcoach.com. I think you can dig out some lists on cold crops, plants that love to grow cold. All right, we do have a caller on the line. We're going to go straight to the line. It's CJ from Victoria. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
I have a question about bamboo. I have bamboo in a pot,
Yep.
And I want to uproot it, divide, and transfer half of my bamboo to another pot.
Okay.
The bamboo's been growing for about 7 years.
Ooh, nice.
Any tips?
Right. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. The roots of the bamboo, can you tell me how tall it is in that container? Is it like 5 feet high or 3 feet high?
It's probably over 5 feet.
Okay, so it's one of the larger types. So what you'll find when you do get it out of the pot, and that'll be the challenge is first, how do you get it out of the pot? And generally you need sort of one person on each side to be tugging it upwards as you kind of pry around the perimeter, and possibly something like a machete works pretty good, or a thin piece of steel. You can go down the side and kind of separate it from the container. If the container curves inwards at the top, like a smaller opening than the bottom, then it's going to be a lot harder for sure. Does your pot have straight sides, or does it curve in at the top?
No, it's small to large.
So it goes small at the bottom, larger at the top. That's great. Okay, that's success right there. So you can get the thing out of the pot. That's going to be the best way to deal with it. And I would lay out a little tarp on the ground or some cardboard or something and just get it out of that pot one way or another and put it on the tarp laying on its side. And then what I would look at is getting a pair of loppers, which are sort of a large pair of pruners. They have the longer handles. And the roots on these things will be just like the branches. So it'll be like literally like bamboo. And you may find the size of these roots, some of them as big as half an inch to 3/4 of an inch in diameter, depending on the variety. Uh-huh. And you're going to need to cut all those big ones. You're sort of cutting your way through the root ball, cutting the big roots predominantly. And then the smaller roots, you can break them, cut them, or pry them apart with the shovel. And then you can break it into smaller pieces. Depending on the soil type, they might break into a whole bunch of pieces, which is fine. You just grab 3 or 4 of them and pop them into your new pot, and away you go. So they do transplant pretty easily. Right now is a good time to do that, just as they're shooting up, getting new leaves for the year. And so is there any other thoughts you might have on that?
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And when I looked up the basil, the research that I did online, it showed that it was from Egypt.
Oh, there you go. That's fabulous. That's so important to get that information. Dan, who is calling in, is an Egyptologist and one of the best actually at that. So that's interesting. We'll have to run that past him.
That'd be great.
He'd probably find it interesting. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Good luck. Yeah. So there you go. It's you never know. Basil from Egypt. Isn't that cool? It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's just one of these things that, these plants that we grow every day are plants that have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years in cultivation, or thousands of years when it comes to Egypt. And it just wouldn't surprise me. And but Southeast Asia or to North Africa areas sounds pretty exciting. We'll find out more, and then we'll report back. So stay tuned each week. We'll talk to Dan about that next Saturday and just see what his thoughts are on that. And by then, he'll probably do research. He's got a fabulous library of all kinds of information, and he may be able to get to the bottom of this for sure. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so transplanting, planting, putting things out, keeping things in, starting your cannas, all these things are things we're doing. And we're all excited because spring is finally here. And depending where you live, you may be able to get out there and deal with it. But if you're in colder areas, you just have to wait it out. All right, so we're going to take another short break here, and we'll be back with more of The Garden Show after this short break. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Lovely gardening day and a long weekend. Easter weekend's always a great time to get out into the garden, and it's often one of our first opportunities. And lots of things we can do. Now, I do typically practice the no-dig method when it comes to vegetable gardening, but everybody has their own methods of doing it, and if you've had success, that's all fabulous. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. Later today, I'll be adding compost to the surface of my raised beds, and I'll be planting straight into those, into that compost. Now, our temperatures, like I say, last night here could have been as cold as -5 in some areas on the hills, and definitely, there are some frost pocket areas where it gets quite cold. These clear nights, that's when the frost comes in. And again, really important to just separate your plants out again according to temperature. And so plants that will want to be warm, we plant those at the end of May. And plants that want to be cold, we get them out right now. Cilantro is one of those plants. You get out right now, get it out early, and it likes to grow on the cold side. And it's not really hardly at all affected by the cold temperature. I've got some cilantro right now that's in like 6-packs, and I'm getting ready to put it out, like I say, today or later today. And that plant has it came straight out of the house out into like a bit of a cold frame, but inside the cold frame, it's already got down to -5 one night. And, it didn't even blink. It didn't wilt or anything. It just sat there and looked around. It was fine, and they're still fine. So, yeah, it's an interesting world out there when it comes to plants. Get them sorted according to temperature. All right, we have Addie on the line. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good.
Ken, my elephant foot,
yep.
The plant sort of grows. Well, I've only had it for a couple of years. It's a very slow grower, but why are the leaves, as they come out and they get larger, they kink? Like they
crinkle?
Sort of,
they
just break, or I guess like the tips seem to be too heavy, so the plant bends to the point where it creases.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now, this is I just want to get it straight, that this is the one where you've got a fairly large bulb in a pot.
Correct.
And then it shoots up, and so that's usually alocasia or calocasia, and they're often called, elephant ears or sometimes elephant foot because of that big bulb. But, they're a plant that really loves moisture, and as soon as they start putting on leaves, then you have to keep them relatively consistently moist.
Oh, really?
And also with the food is that if they suffer any kind of nutrient issue, which really they're not really super picky, but it generally the shape of the leaf can be affected. Like when it's first pushing out, it can sometimes get crinkled up, or it doesn't have enough water in the leaf to keep it turgid, so it's like plump and let's say rigid enough to hold itself. So that's what I would be looking at right now. Is I'd be saying, okay, let's keep it warm, keep it in bright light for now, and then if you do you put that outside in the summer, Addie?
Well, I did. Yes, I did last year. This is going to be its second summer, so I'm going to put it outside.
Yeah.
Last year I put it into sort of where it got sun till about 12:30 or so, and then it was in the shade.
That's a good idea. Yeah, they kind of like part shade. Indoors, the light's not that good, so they can go right in front of the window. But once you do get them outside, they're kind of part shady plants. So
I've got it in front of the window, and it gets sun probably from about 11:30 till 4 right now. Anyway,
okay.
So I think it's happy there. It's just that my leaves seem to be, but I think I haven't been watering it that much. I've been neglecting it, so I think that's probably what's happened, is why there's a crease in them and they kind of fold over and looks like they're going to break off.
Yeah, like they're going to wilt. And so, but what I would say is that often with these plants, once they do start growing, they'll grow quite rapidly. So meaning they'll put out a few leaves. So if the first one comes out and it's kind of rough looking, don't worry, because there'll be more coming on. And I would leave that one and try to just doctor it along best you can for as long as possible until you get maybe a couple of nice, healthy looking leaves. And then you can just snip that one off. And so you should be fine. By the time it's, around the end of May, you put them outside. And, at that time, we also will be, again, hardening them off, getting them used to being outside and the air movement and the direct sun and all that. So, it's a little bit of a rough transition from inside to outside. But once they're used to their movement outside and the direct sun and all that, they should do quite well.
Oh, great. Okay, my other question is, I got a basket of spring bulbs from a neighbor, and like it was full bloom tulips and different type of daffodils and stuff. Now it's already died back. Should I just cut them back and save the bulbs from there?
I would try to keep them living as long as possible. You know, the greenery, so that means keeping on watering but putting them outside. They love to be cool, so they like to be straight outside, and just water them, keep them moist, and hopefully the green doesn't die off right away. Because
I put them outside, and the green is quite. It's still quite green. So should I put them in full sun? They've been outside for about a week now.
Oh,
and they've been sort of a semi-shaded area.
I'd put them right in the full sun for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that what we need is we need to convert sunlight into the sugar that's in that bulb and get it plumped up so it's ready to go for next year. And just keep them going in that as long as you can. And then at any time when you do see them start to die off a little bit or they're starting to shrivel up, then you can take those, shake them all out of the pots and plant them into the ground. And they'll be happy for next year.
Oh, good. Okay, my avocado plant is 6 inches high.
Oh, nice.
Got a whole bunch of little leaves on the top now. I'm in competition with a neighbor, and he told me that to snip off the leaves, then they'll grow more from the bottom.
No, it's a competition. Remember, you have to take that advice very, very.
Well, that's lightly. Why I'm asking you, and I'm going to tell him that. Yeah, you said go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that would be a good advice. Yeah, the whole thing with any plant is the more leaves they have, the more ability they have to make carbohydrates, which is their food. And so you want lots of leaves, makes lots of carbohydrates, which means lots of fast growth. So if
will it eventually get leaves from the bottom, or because right now it's just got maybe about 7 or 8 leaves at the very, very top?
Yeah, that's what they do. Because remember, they want to be a tree, so they're not interested in growing at the bottom at this point. You could grow it up to about maybe 2 or 3 feet high, and then all you would do is pinch the very tip out. The very tip of the shoot, and then that would force a little bit of side growth.
Oh, super. Okay, so it's probably not going to get up that high for, a couple of weeks or a couple. It seems
months.
Quickly though, but it is. So, but anyway, my tiny tomato has a tomato on it.
Oh, nice.
There you go. Started way too early. I mean, I don't think it's going to come to fruition, but I have been putting them outside when it's gotten up to over +8.
Yeah, that's good. And then, and any other days right in the bright window indoors, and they'll be fine. And that's great. It's the first tomato I've heard of this year. So you've won that competition.
But I'm still waiting for my first hummingbird. I put my feeders out, and last year I had them quite early. This year I haven't had anything yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, should be soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ken. Happy Easter to you and Wendy.
Yeah, thanks, Addie. Take care. Happy Easter. Bye-bye. There you go. And we have a caller on line, too. It sounds like it's Taxon from Kelowna. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Since we were talking about pruning last hour, this may seem like an off-the-beat question, but how do you clean? What's the best way of cleaning a pruning saw?
Pruning saw? Well,
the type you have you hold in your hand?
Yeah.
And the type of hand pruning saw?
Yeah. So it's like a folding one?
Yes.
Yeah. So
what's the best cleaning it?
Yeah, well, what I would do is I would use rubbing alcohol. So just because what the act of cleaning it, like making it nice and clean and shiny, but not only clean, but actually sterilized, so that when you're using it between plants, you're not going to get spreading of diseases. So what I used to do is I would buy, you can just go to a drugstore and buy a little bottle of rubbing alcohol. It's isopropyl. And the higher the percentage, the better. Like they sometimes are 99% or something, sometimes 70%. I think either of those are fine. But you just put that straight into a little misting bottle, mark it clearly that it's rubbing alcohol. And then, you can just spray it on any of your tools. It won't cause any rusting at all. But it will actually just completely clean it and sterilize it. So that's definitely the way to go.
And basically, just put it in the spraying bottle and go for it.
Yeah, mist it. Just spritz it. And it works really good. I've been doing that for years. When we used to do a lot of disease remediation on trees and plants, and we would have to spritz the blade like every second or third cut to make sure we weren't just spreading diseases everywhere. And it really was fabulous. Worked great.
And then you just rub it off with an old cloth, and you're good to go?
You betcha.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling in.
You have a great day. Thank
you too.
Sir.
Happy Easter. Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go. So good tip. And you can clean all kinds of gardening implements with rubbing alcohol, like even trays or flats or pruning saws, loppers, all that kind of thing. Especially, when you're doing that kind of pruning and when you're cutting out wood that looks black or dark brown, that's usually diseases that cause that discoloration, and it can spread. You cut through a diseased piece of wood, and then you cut another plant, and you're literally injecting it straight into that plant. So it's one of those things where you want to keep those utensils clean. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break, and we will then come back to talk to Pat. And, so we'll be back after these messages with more of The Garden Show. All righty, we are back with you, and just a quick reminder that Enderby needs your vote for the Hockeyville Hockey Arena contest. You can look that up online. I think today, is the last day for voting. So if you're, just as a reminder, you can go online and give your vote for your favorite Craft Hockeyville community, and they can get a bunch of help to get their arenas on track, which would be fabulous because I know they're having issues with their arena in Enderby, and not sure they've been able to skate there. But anyway, just a heads up, and if you're into it, give them a quick call, or give them a quick vote, and it doesn't take long, and it'll certainly help, I'm sure. All right, we're going to go back to the phone lines, and we have Pat on the line. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. I enjoy your show every morning.
Oh, nice.
I have a question, and it's about a plant called portulaca.
Mm-hmm.
Do you grow that from seeds, or do I buy that at a nursery?
Well, they're quite easy to grow from seed, so I would suggest that you try growing it from seed first, just because they are one of these plants that they will seed quite readily. So you can actually just go out and sprinkle it in little areas wherever you'd like to see it grow, and away it goes. And there's several different mixes that you can get that are very brightly colored, and one of my favorites too. And once they get rooted in, they really don't need much water at all.
Well, that's why I thought maybe that would be good, and they also like heat. So
oh, yeah.
I thought I could put them in a few pots, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The key, I think, with pots is that it's just you have to kind of manage the watering a little bit, which means don't overwater them. At first, to get them to germinate, you would water a little bit each day on the surface mostly, and then once they get established and start to grow, then you can go to like every 2 days, and then eventually every 3 days, and then after a while, just about once a week. So. Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. And I have one more question, please.
Sure.
Last year, my roses, I have several tea roses, and they came out in bloom, and they were absolutely beautiful. The next day, they were all sunburned.
Oh, yes. The blooms themselves.
Yes. Is there any way I can do that other than putting an umbrella up?
It's a little bit tough, but it's literally what we do with plants, and because it's been getting so hot in the summertime, especially in the Okanagan, that we've been using shade material. It's called shade cloth. And the
shade
cloth, yeah, and it's available at I'm not sure how many garden centers do supply it, but I would check it at garden centers, and also like Buckerfield's or even Growers Supply does sell the material. The key is that it just comes like on a roll or just as a folded sheet, and you have to put it on something. So you have to make some sort of a rack. And it's preventing the hot afternoon sun. That's the key. So
dear.
It's a bit tough. But, from year to year, some years you get it and some years you don't. So, just watch the watering. When the temperatures get really hot, you just want to just trickle water at the base of the plant just so that it has a reasonable supply. And that also helps to keep those blooms intact and they don't succumb to the heat.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you a very nice Easter.
Yeah, very nice, and happy Easter to you, too.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. All right, we're going back to the phone lines. It looks like we have Phil on the line. Good morning, Phil.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I have a question about soil. What I've done for the last 2 or 3 years, this container plant, those big black plastic containers and things smaller than that, and that's what I put them in. But my question is what I've been doing is a little expensive. Go to Walmart, get like whatever oodles of soil mix in what I think is appropriate and put it in, and everything grows.
Right.
That's great, but what I'm looking at, number one, is expense this year, and also I'm looking for lack of overkill, because I could be putting something in that does not require it for the pot. So my question is, what would be the best soil mix, generally speaking, for if I'm using the same one, for peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, herbs, squash? That's basically the focal point of what the vegetables would be.
Yeah, so those are all hot crops. They love the heat in the summertime. And so these are fairly large, like nursery pots, I guess. They're black in color and say about 24 inches in diameter.
Well, yes, they're quite large, and they're rubber. They seem to be rubber flexible.
Okay.
Not rubber, but anyway, and I don't know if that, you can give me a hand at the end here what to perhaps make them more compatible with heat, etc. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
You fill the bottom of the pots with a filler material, and that can be just about anything. I mean, let's see, I'm just trying to think of some of the things that I've used in the past. I've used like even empty pots sometimes. I've used, let's say, like the little peanuts that you get from different shipping materials. Sometimes I use pine cones, or I can use even just compost in the bottom of the pot, sort of chunky compost, because you want lots of oxygen to get in the bottom.
Okay.
And so then if you don't want your soil to mix in with that bottom filler, because you need about 10 to 12 inches of soil on the upper part to grow these plants. And so if it's 18 inches deep, you've got 8 inches there. You don't really have to waste your expensive potting soil on that. So you fill the bottom. Some people even put rocks in there just so that it holds it upright. A little bit of bottom, weight. So that's one strategy, and then the upper part is generally just straight potting soil. The key with potting soils is when you buy them, they're pre-mixed, and they're generally designed to have quite a bit of porosity, so open air space, lots of water holding ability. They're designed a certain way to have success growing plants in pots. And so when you add stuff to that, you sometimes can alter that, and it may be to the good or it might be to the bad, depending on sort of what it is you're mixing with them. So I do appreciate that ability to make it a bigger volume, but it still can be a little bit tricky. We use a material sometimes you can buy. Again, unfortunately, you have to buy it, but it's a perlite, it's called, and that's the white beads that you'll see that are in soil. And you can sometimes fill the whole bottom of the pot with that, and then just put your potting soil on top of it. And in that case, you don't need to have any separation between them. Like if I put pine cones in the bottom of a pot, I'll put a little bit of landscape fabric over top of that, just so that it doesn't, I don't lose all my soil in between the pore, the big openings.
Exactly.
And so that's, those are sort of two strategies. But if I had the perlite, I wouldn't have to worry about that. I'd just fill it to about 1/3 full, and then, because it is still less expensive than, say, potting soil, and then put your potting soil in up to about 1 inch from the top of the pot. And, that's generally it. When you're adding these composted materials to a potting mix, the note is that potting mixes are called soilless mixes. That means there's no actual soil in it, and there's not much for biological activity in there. And so to have a small amount of compost in there, which is generally less than 10%, is probably passable. But when you start getting higher percentages, then it's sort of inconsistent, and it's hard to know exactly whether you're doing a good thing or not. And so one of the things with the potting soils, like I said, about them being really good at holding moisture, but also having a lot of oxygen in them at the same time. And that's the secret to having good potting soil, having those two factors. Yeah.
Okay, right on. And what compost would you suggest, during the course of the summer, to top it up? What compost? Like worm
castings? Yeah, worm castings are always good. They're not going to give you much aeration between the particles. So if I was going to, if I used to buy these bags, I don't know if they're still available. I think they are, but you could get a bag of perlite it stands about 4 feet high and it's about 2 feet in diameter. It's this huge bag. It weighs nothing, right? Because it's like popcorn in there. But the perlite is a great inert material for adding to potting soils. You can buy a big bag like that for quite inexpensive, and I know they do sell them at places like Growers Supply or sometimes at Buckerfield's. Not sure, which suppliers. Maybe at garden centers you can check. But if you had one of those available, then if I was going to add worm castings, I would just kind of mix in some perlite with it to keep the aeration in the worm castings. Worm castings are always a nice touch, but again, I still don't overdo it. Not more than I would rather say take a bin, put some potting soil in it, throw some perlite in, throw a scoop of worm castings in, mix it all together, and then top up my planters with that, so you get that nice mixture.
Yeah, okay, that sounds wonderful. And what about on top of that, just on top, do you put a mulch?
Not in the pots, typically. It's not really necessary. I like to be able to see the surface of the soil quite easily, just so that I can judge for myself as to how much moisture is in that soil. And so I can usually tell when the soil's drying out, or I stick my finger in the soil and I go, oh, this needs water. Then, so I like to be able to see the surface. Mulching on the earth, like outside, it definitely is a huge benefit for sure.
Okay, all right. It was just kind of mixed fields on that. Because when I put the mulch on, and I have every year, what I found when I didn't, and maybe it could have been the mixture of soil I was using, but the top dried out and it got flaky and it never held much moisture. So
the mulch always helps hold the moisture in for sure. And I'd say the only issue is that that you sort of disconnected from the actual soil mass a little bit. Yeah. But you could put a donut around the perimeter of some mulch, and then just leave it open around the base of the plant. And that would probably be a 50-50 thing, where you could still look at your soil, you could still stick your finger in it, check it for moisture, at the same time as benefiting from a bit of mulch around the perimeter.
Well, wonderful information. And just wrapping her up here with the so basically potting soil. And when you're saying potting soil, is there a specific kind, or is it just potting soil?
Well, there's a lot of different brands out there, but you might have seen these. They come in like a 3.5 cubic foot bale. And these are big bales of potting mix, and they're professional mixes. Sometimes they're called HP, or they're called Sunshine Mix or Fisons. these are companies that make these big bales of soil, and even though the prices are anywhere from $40 to $60 for a bale, you can get a lot of pots. They're so compressed. When you open that up, put it in a wheelbarrow, fluff it up, add water. These are professional mixes that really work. That's what the growers use, and so they have fabulous success. So, when you use the higher quality product like that, buy it in bulk like that in a big bale, you get your best dollar value, but you're getting a very high quality product. So yeah, it's good.
And where did you get that? I haven't seen many of those kicking around at Walmart.
I've seen them. I think Walmart gets them from time to time. I've seen them at almost every garden center stocks them, and sometimes like Rona, those types of places will have them, or Home Hardware sort of thing.
So they're a bigger bale. They're bigger, right?
They're big, yeah. They're about they're called 3.4 cubic feet or something, and I'm not exactly sure, but they stand about 30 inches high by about 18 inches wide by a foot thick, and it's compressed. So there's a lot of soil in there, and especially if you have several large containers to do, it's easy to use it, and then have a bit left over to do a few small pots, and you're good to go.
So, question of getting away from plants here pretty soon.
Yeah.
We'll be doing carpentry, but
sure.
I was just wondering, all relative though, is can you fit one of those in the back of a half ton?
Oh, easy.
And can two guys get it on there?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting kind of feeble due to my arthritis, but I can still manage one bale. It depends on if the bale is soggy wet. Sometimes they leave it sitting in a puddle and it gets really heavy. But two guys easy, and you could probably fit 10 to 12 bales in the back of a pickup truck easy.
And one particular bale would cover, when we're talking, just looking, let's say, the 12-inch black pots, the bigger ones we're talking about. How much coverage would you get out of that? How many pots approximately?
Probably... Geez, it's hard. Again, the volume is just a calculation, but probably 10, 20 of those.
Oh, crap.
Quite a few. So, when I grow my zucchinis or tomatoes in pots, I like to go what's called a 7-gallon pot, and it's just slightly bigger than a 5-gallon pot. And these are just names. It doesn't mean how big they are or the volume, but they're just a decent size, usually about 14-inch diameter across the top. And they can be anywhere from 14 to 20 inches deep, and those are great for pots. They're just called nursery pots. They come in all different sizes and shapes. They're inexpensive. They last forever. They're black in color. Watch the black-colored pots because the hot sun will get those pots so hot it can burn the roots. So I know some people will paint the pots white, or they'll put a little bit of white plastic around the bottom of them, or they'll slip them inside of a decorative pot sometimes just to give keep the sun off that side. Yeah.
Okay. All great info. Thank you very, very much.
Okay,
and,
no problem.
I don't think there's anything else, so you saved me some money. Thanks a lot.
Fabulous. Yeah, call in again and let us know how it goes.
I will. Okay, bye now.
Yep. Thanks, Phil. Bye. All right, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back after these messages with more Garden Show. All righty, we are back, and going straight back to the phone lines, we have Sharon on the line from Victoria. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning, Dawn, and good morning, Ken in Vancouver. I'm calling from the Greater Victoria area in Saanich, and our weather is just as beautiful as Vancouver's.
Oh, fabulous.
Okay. So thanks for taking my call. I just found some anemone blanda. It's a blue shade ones.
Nice.
They're the bulbs, and I've had them since last November, and I hate to say I think we had a bit of frost, and I forgot to plant them. I know they bloom at this time of the year because all my neighbors have them on it now. And I was wondering, can I plant them now?
Yeah, you're better off to get those in the ground ASAP.
Okay.
Because they do need to have like a bit of a cooling period over the winter in order to get them triggered. So if we missed out on that, you better to get them in now, maybe while the temperatures are still on the cool side. And hopefully they'll shoot up. They might just shoot up a bit later this year, like maybe into May or so, and then might give you a few blooms. But the following year, they'll be fabulous, as long as they're still alive. But sometimes they do desiccate in storage, and they may may not be as happy.
So that was my next question, because they are the ones they're from Canadian Tire. It's a good place. It's Canadian, hopefully. And it said, it's the ones from Holland, and it says plant in the fall, but I think you just answered my question. Do not hold them over the fall, then. That's another 6 months away.
Yeah, it does. They dry out, they desiccate, and they're best to be planted right away, and they don't really mind the cold temperatures, so even if there was, frost or freezing or snow or anything, you could still plant them in the fall, and they would be happy and just sit there, and the earth is moist. They would root in, be able to get moisture, over the winter. It's kind of an abnormal thing for them to be out of the soil like that. So
But if I've got them now, should I plant them now, or should I wait till the fall? Because you said they disintegrate.
Yeah, they dessicate, so that means they dry out. So
okay.
Get them in the ground today.
Okay, what time will you be down to help me?
Say about 9 o'clock tonight, I think, if I run.
That'd be great, because it's daylight saving time right now.
Right.
Can I read a couple of garden events from the paper for you?
Yeah, sure. That sounds great.
Full disclosure, I used to work there, but I still subscribe to the paper because it's less than $1 a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you buy a magazine at the store for $18, but if you subscribe, it's $4, right?
Nice.
The paper at the store is like $2 or $3, but if you do it at home, subscriptions, it's roughly $1 a day, and you get the internet version, and mind you, there's GST on top of that. But this one's about there's 2 garden events right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Victoria Horticultural Meeting. The Victoria Horticultural Society will meet on Tuesday, April 2nd, from 6:30 to 9 p.m. in the Garth Homer Center, 813 Darwin Avenue. At 6:30, members of the Vancouver Island Rock and Alpine Garden Society will host a workshop on how to make an alpine pot.
Ooh.
At 8 p.m., Angela Hoy will present the complete guide to home composting. Non-members drop-in fee is $5, and they do have a website. It's vicHortSociety.org. And on top of that, annual memberships are only $30 or something like that, and you can go to the garden tours that they have for free, like private garden tours in the summer, and that's only open to members. And then the Gordon Head meeting, I belong to both clubs, full disclosure.
Nice.
Gordon Head meeting, the Gordon Head Garden Club will meet on Wednesday, April 3rd from 7 to 9 p.m. at Gordon Head Lawn Bowling Club, 4105 Lambert Way. Christina Cook from the Organic Gardener's Pantry will speak about nourishing plants through soil improvements and foliar sprays.
Perfect.
Visitors welcome at no charge. And someday they'll have Dawn and Ken there as guests. Someday.
One day we'll be there.
One day. Okay, great. And then Dinters is having something. They can just look that up on Dinters. Dinters is up island.
Yep.
They are having, what are they having? Preparing your perennial exchange on April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's preparing your pond. Oh, this is another different. Van Water has a $10 thing for preparing your pond for spring for spring. Okay, and
Perfect.
That's it. So just at least that people can either look it up on the Times Colonist website and go to Helen Chestnut and they can find it, or just look in the paper and it's on section D. Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thanks,
for taking
Sharon.
my call, and happy Easter to everybody in the whole world.
That's fabulous.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sharon.
Dawn,
Thanks for
bye.
the update. Bye-bye. There you go. There's Sharon from Victoria. And I think we can maybe just squeeze in one more call here before the break, and then we'll come back after the break and continue with calls. We have Pam calling in from Victoria. Good morning, Pam.
Oh, good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
Great. My question is, I live in the Victoria area, as you mentioned. Sadly, I have a dead cypress. It was quite mature, at least 50 years old, and it's totally brown. And before I have it removed, I'm trying to get some plan in place for what can be planted in its place, given the soil conditions and the fact that it also provides privacy for me. I live quite close to a busy street, so it's been marvelous for privacy.
Right. Yeah,
so it's a tough one.
It is a bit tough. The key for me, whenever I have a tree that dies, I always want to know why it died. And that just means that on some of these cypresses and even some cedars, that sort of thing, they will sometimes develop these quite severe diseases that kind of come out of the blue. And the disease family is called Phytophthora, which is kind of a mouthful. But these diseases are root diseases that affect the stems and the roots. And one of the things is when they get cut down, like I always like to inspect them, and scrape the bark off maybe with a little hatchet or something, and look to see if I see any streaking underneath the bark, especially black streaking. And the reason for this is that if it is one of these really bad diseases, then we know that whatever we put back in there will probably get the same disease. And so it's one of these tricky situations. So even before, like I would say, to recommend something, the general rule is don't put the exact same family back in there. Put something different.
Okay.
So maybe I don't know how much room you have, but like a redwood or something, or something big. The thing is with bigger trees is they grow faster. So
that's
if
good.
you want something quick, you need to go with something bigger. And you look, X number of years down the road and see when you want to have your privacy.
Yes.
And you choose appropriately. So something that's fast growing. Deciduous plants or trees that have leaves are way faster. They grow much faster than evergreens. However, sometimes you might have to go, because the road is there year round, and so you might want to have something maybe like a laurel. And the laurel hedges are quite good because they're broadleaf and they're a completely different animal from the cypress, right?
Okay, that's a good thought.
So that might be the good direction. But at this point, I would say whoever takes that tree down, hopefully, if you hire an arborist company, so they have a professional on hand, someone who knows diseases, to check that out and find out what is the issue, why did it die. Hopefully they can figure it out, and then you'll know how to move forward from there.
How to go forward. When you say the laurel, there's a pretty one that has red leaves.
On the tips?
Well, yes.
Yeah, it's Photinia, usually, that one.
How do you spell that?
Photinia.
Okay.
So, Photinia.
Okay, and being that it's a full sun area as well.
Yeah. Oh, and that's all fine. There's quite a few different broad evergreen shrubs that you could put in that would give you that, full size and quite large size, enough to give you screening but definitely those, evergreens are going to give you the best sound management, right?
All right. Well, you've given me lots to think about, and that's very helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pam. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to have to take a short break here, so if you can just hold on line 3, and we'll be back after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Alrighty, welcome back. Ken Salvail here today. Don Burnett's away down at the coast today, and I'm just going to be going straight to the phone lines, and we have Lori on the line. Good morning. Good morning. I wonder, are you still there, Lori?
Good morning. What was the name?
That's a good question. What's your name? Line 3?
Well, I wasn't given a line, but my name's Lauren.
Lauren, there you go. Lauren, how are you doing?
I've got a problem with crabgrass in my lawn.
Oh, okay. And now, so did you experience that last summer?
Well, it started last summer, yeah.
Okay, and what's the status right now? Is it all died off and looking rough?
They're all dead.
Yeah, okay. So just to positively identify it, because that would be typical of crabgrass. So what it does is right about at this time of year, the seeds are actually considering regerminating right now. Where are you located? Oh, you're in Kelowna, right?
Kelowna, yeah.
Yeah, so right about now or in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to start to see some of these seeds actually germinating. And then what they do is they just grow only just small, about a half an inch high, little tiny plants, and they'll just sort of sit there and pitter-putt along until they get into June and into maybe late June, and all of a sudden they'll start to grow.
Right.
And they will grow to a fair size, and then by the time they hit August, they're just growing, and they grow those big flat plants, and they turn red, and they have all kinds of, they're just kind of a horrible weed. So the only way that you can manage that plant is through what's called a pre-emergence herbicide, and that is applied right about now or early in the season, and it can be applied, I think, up until about maybe this year. It seems like we're quite early, so maybe by about mid-April you'd probably be okay. the key with that is that I don't think you can buy those products. I think you have to hire a company to come in, and they would do a crabgrass control for you.
Right.
And so that would be the thing to do is to do that, I guess.
So what do I do about the dead grass that's laying there now? Just leave it?
Rake it out. Rake it out, meaning just use a give it a good hard raking.
Okay.
Pull it all out and get it, remember that those seeds dropped last September, right at the end of August.
Right.
And so what some people do is they'll hand pick it as much as they can, but, obviously it gets out of hand. They want to, when they start to see those little seed heads starting to form, flat little crab-like looking grasses, then they pull them out and they pop them out with like a dandelion puller. And it's a big job, really, depending how big the area is. But you're just removing all that seed and everything, so it really reduces the population over time. So people who aren't using the pre-emergence herbicide method, then they're doing it typically by hand.
Okay. So it's basically a manual project.
Yeah, and happens every year, usually around the end of July, depending on how early or late it is, maybe early August. And what I've done now is I've learned how to identify them as little tiny seedlings,
right?
Because they've got kind of a fuzzy leaf that is kind of wider than the regular lawn grasses.
Okay.
So it's a wide and it's slightly lighter green, almost a gray-green color. And so I can see these little grasses, and I see them along the edge of the sidewalks and things. So when I see them, I'm popping them out as soon as I see them.
Right.
But, for most people, you got to wait for them to get a little bigger till they're easier to identify.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, so there you go. Already talking about crabgrass. It's that time of year. So crabgrass is a bit of a pain, that's for sure. And it's one of these things that grows from seed every year. It's an annual. And, just got to get rid of those seeds. I find most of the crabgrass comes in off the roads and sidewalks, off people's shoes, that sort of thing. That's why sometimes you'll see the crabgrass starts right along a sidewalk, like if there's a public sidewalk going past your house, and you'll see the crabgrass starting there because the crabgrass seeds are flowing down the roads and flowing down the sidewalks. It's like a seed highway, and it's just distributing those lovely little seeds all through the neighborhood. And a pretty common issue, that's for sure. So we are coming to the end of the show here. So I just really want to thank everybody for listening in today, and hopefully we're able to answer all your gardening questions. And so I guess it's pretty much time to do the tips and plants of the week. Alrighty, now it's time to harden off your plants when you're moving them outside. So we did talk about keeping your cold plants and your warm plants separate. Warm plants, you can set them out in the daytime if it's warm enough and start to get them used to the day and the air movement and the bright sunlight and all that. But the plants that like to go outside at this time of year, they actually don't mind to freeze at night, and they're quite flexible. There's just tons of them. The cabbage family and all your leafy vegetables and things are usually quite good at that. But the issue is that if you grew them inside and you have to put them outside, you have to integrate them gradually. So that's called hardening them off. That means you set them outside for maybe an hour, bring them in. Next day or two, put them out for an hour or two and bring them in, and you're gradually increasing the time, increasing the brightness, increasing the air movement, increasing the colder temperatures until eventually, after about a week or so, they're actually acclimatized, and then you can just plant them straight outside. All right, my plant of the week this week was the Boxwood family, and as I mentioned, there are many, many different types of boxwoods. They're an evergreen, broadleaf evergreen plant that's quite drought tolerant and tough, easy to grow, but there are many different types. So if you have one die out, you have to try to match it up, and that's where the challenge begins. And really cool plant, very, very popular, but there's a couple little tricks to that one. So check it out, learn more, and good plant. All right, so that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube for more gardening information. And on growercoach.com, we even have gardening classes that you can take and different courses that are available. You can check those out at your leisure. All right, again, I thank everyone for tuning in this week. It's been a fun show. It's always great when spring gets rolling. There's just tons and tons of questions. That's par for the course at this time of year, but it really is great. And again, I just want to say happy Easter to everybody, and I hope you have a great long weekend. And get out in the garden, enjoy the fresh air, and enjoy the lovely flowers. They're coming on strong now. All right, so we'll catch you again next week with more of The Garden Show.